Coming up on Joni, we wrap up our discussion on hormones with expert advice that every man and woman needs to live by. Synthetic hormones are not good, and now we have medical science to back that up. No myths, no misconceptions.
We perish for lack of knowledge, and once I got knowledge, once I had understanding, I will never, ever go back.
Only the solutions to set you free. Next. I have a lot of great friends. Some are funny.
Most of the time, I'm absolutely brilliant.
And some are intense.
It would behoove you to listen to what I gotta say.
But we love to get together and talk.
I hate to gossip, but now I can get into some serious girl talk.
No topic is too shocking,
We are not ready for that.
and no subject is too tough.
I don't know about you, but in my life, I've had some issues.
My friends have an opinion about everything. I can be too blunt or too candid. So grab a seat and join the conversation. This is Joni Table Talk. I want to welcome everybody today. We are talking about estrogen, progesterone, progestin, Premarin. I mean, all of these different hormone-related topics, and I'm so glad that you joined us. On the panel today is Magali Hall.
Hi.
And she is a sound nutritionist and a cancer survivor, liver cancer survivor. And next to her is my dear friend, Cindy Murdoch, and she is a hormone survivor. No. Yes, I am. Because she's still here after having hormone imbalance. I'm the same way. And next to me is my mother.
And I'm just a survivor.
Sandra Trammell. And she's a Premarin survivor.
Yeah, that's true.
And then next to her is Dr. Barbara Hoffman, our expert on hormones. And you're a hormone survivor as well.
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, really, anyone who's living in this world today is probably going to, at one time or another, deal with hormonal imbalance, including men.
Mm-hmm. And we can overcome all of the imbalances.
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I thought we would touch on perimenopausal and menopausal women. All of you women out there who you're in your maybe late 30s, 40s, maybe going into your 50s, and you're like, something's not right, I don't have the energy, maybe you have a real heavy flow on your cycle every month. We're going to talk about all of that and what are all the symptoms of that? What's going on?
Well, there's 35 symptoms of perimenopause and menopause.
Oh,
and
good.
some of them, people think I have arthritis and it's the aches and pains. I have dry skin, I'm getting old.
Your hair's falling out.
Yeah, my hair is falling out.
Can't sleep at night.
Can't sleep at night, but the number ones are hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, loss of libido, dry skin and hair. Insomnia is huge. Yeah. Weight gain right around the middle. You look down, there's a pooch. Where did it come from? And I can't get rid of it, and I'm dieting. That's another huge.
And dieting doesn't work from perimenopausal women. And a lot of them, and we didn't talk about this, and I'd like to talk about it, but a lot of them are insulin resistant.
Yes.
And that's another big thing that's coming
It's
up, even though
hormone-related, yes.
they don't have diabetes, but they're not processing insulin correctly,
Right.
therefore the weight gain, right?
Exactly. And the weight gain is always right around the middle, and it's for the men as well. If you look over and your husband or your loved one or your brother, whatever, has a huge little, pooch there, and otherwise they're thin, that's the beginnings of insulin resistance. And that's a hormone imbalance.
So you, Cindy, can you relate to some of these symptoms? Because I know you've actually started into menopause now, would you say?
Yes.
And so
I'm a war veteran. Aren't we? We're war veterans,
I love
aren't we?
it. So could you relate to some of those symptoms?
I think I had all 30. How many did you say?
35.
I think I had all 35.
35.
And I remember the horrible part is like you're sleepy, you need to go to sleep, but the night you're going to be awake and tossing and tumbling and throwing the covers off, pulling them back on, tossing and tumbling, wide awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you still got to face the day of work. And those were some horrendous days.
I remember
and
you told
nights.
me like at night you'd get like a hot flash and you'd be laying there and all of a sudden everything would be wet.
Oh, yeah, my
and
hair.
you'd have to get up and change
clothes.
your clothes.
Just terrible. And then, then you kind of start chilling. So you got to pull all the covers back up on you again. But a night like that, and then we know not having a good night's rest, how it affects us mentally, emotionally, physically. So, wow.
So let's talk about you, and we're going to talk about solutions, but let's hear, obviously you've gone through menopause, right?
Well, it was surgical menopause, I guess you'd call it, because it was just
True.
instant.
So that, is that different, surgical menopause?
Surgical, well, most women go through menopause over a series of years. You went through it in one day.
So that's a hysterectomy. Those of you that have had a hysterectomy, and a lot of women have had hysterectomies, but there's help for everyone. And so what were your symptoms like, Mom, after hysterectomy?
Well, because at first I was okay because I did, like I say, I had my ovaries still.
So how long do the ovaries continue to work if they leave?
3 to 5 years.
That's what, and it was 5 years that the doctor, and then I was put on the synthetic hormone, so I actually never experienced what Cindy's talking about.
Oh, and
Now,
so
only when I tried to come off of it, yes.
Then you were welcome to the real world of menopause.
Oh, that's what they're talking about.
That was the first time, yeah.
Okay, so Barbara, what do these women do? What does Cindy do? What does my mom do?
Well, one thing I would really like to say to women is don't let your objective be to get rid of all hot flashes. That may not happen. I've been on natural hormones since 1993. I didn't even want to go on them because I felt so good, but I was warned, keep it, prevent it. So I had some hot flashes, but that is because there's a fluctuation of hormones at a certain age, and you can have hot flashes. If your objective is to get rid of all hot flashes, and you go to your doctor and tell them that, you're going to get a powerful synthetic hormone.
And you don't want that.
And you don't want that. And that's what works. That's why doctors were giving them out like candy, because it puts your estrogen level up so high, there's no fluctuation and no hot flash. So I would lay there and have a hot flash, and I'd think, this is kind of interesting. I put a little spin on it, but I didn't have that many, just occasional. But don't let that be your total objective. Because
that's kind of a natural process.
Yes.
As you're
it is.
going through perimenopause
Yes.
and menopause.
Yes.
But what is the solution for women?
The solution for women is bioidentical hormones, also known as natural hormones.
Okay, did you understand that? Bioidentical hormones, that's a new fancy term for natural hormones.
So
and what are natural hormones?
Natural progesterone is a bioidentical hormone. And the hormones are little messengers, and they go into the cells, and picture the cells as a lock. The hormone wants to put a little key in there and open it. If it's bioidentical, the key opens the lock. If it's a synthetic hormone, it can't get into the lock, goes somewhere else in your body and does nasty things.
And so all of the studies over the last how many years has it been now that they've come out with information that synthetic hormones are dangerous for women?
Since year 2000. Now the rule of thumb is 48 to 55, the lowest dose for the shortest amount of time. If you're over 65, the doctors won't even want to put you on because they're that dangerous.
So what happened is, as women would begin to go through perimenopause and menopause, they would have these hot flashes, not be able to sleep, not be themselves. They'd go to the doctor, he'd say, here's some candy, here's some synthetic hormones, and then it pushed the estrogen levels up. Now I'm saying this very simplistic terms, by the way, so you can understand. And then hot flashes would disappear, but like you said, because they were synthetic hormones, when they went to the cell, like pretending to be a key, they wouldn't be able to unlock the cell, and it would travel to another part of the body, and with the progesterone especially would travel to the breast area and the breast tissue, and then what has happened to so many ladies now as a result of synthetic hormones.
Increased risk of heart attack, stroke, breast cancer, and blood clots.
And this is proven. This isn't us just saying this.
The Women's Health Initiative in the year 2000, as a matter of fact, it was in the middle of a 7-year study, 4.5 years in, the government stopped the study because the hormones were so dangerous.
Amazing.
The government came in and said stop. So that was really moving quite
So now, Barbara, I know that there are a lot of doctors, and we love doctors around here. We've got how many members of our family in the medical community? But doctors are starting to get it to some degree. But there's still some that are prescribing synthetic hormones. What if someone's watching and they have a doctor who's saying, don't pay attention to all the news reports, I think they're fine, you're going to be fine.
Here's my opinion, and I love doctors. I network with them all the time. And My best friend is an MD, but here's what I say. They're making new, what they call designer estrogens. They're brand new, and they're going, these are safer. Yeah. Ladies, do you want to be the guinea pig for 20 years down the line, what happened with the other ones?
Yeah.
They said heart attack, stroke, breast cancer.
The others were some Premarin,
yes.
Prempro. Those were some of
those were the
what were
worst,
some of the other synthetic hormones
well,
being prescribed?
There was estrogens and there were so many different names, Provera.
Yeah.
But then now we know 20 years later they were very harmful. So I don't want to be put on something that I'm the 20-year study of.
Yeah.
Let's do bioidentical. And you can get bioidentical hormones over the counter, which your doctor may or may not tell you.
So the key word here is this. If you have a doctor who's saying synthetic hormones are fine, you're going to be fine, that's between you and him and the Lord if you're a believer. But I would encourage you to maybe get a second opinion. Yes. And then also talk to your doctor about natural hormones and say, is there anything natural that you can put me on? Bioidentical hormones. And a lot of them are opening up to this, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And I don't like to be confrontational with doctors because I love them, but if they say I don't know anything about them, you could say, well, doctor, they've been around since 1933.
Wow, 1933.
And then maybe he'll go and study about them.
Because there are alternatives and safer alternatives. Yes. Well, stay right there. We're going to be back talking about hormones in just a minute. Stay right where you are. Well, we are talking about hormones today. This is Table Talk, and I'm joined by some of my dear friends, and it is interesting to understand about hormones and also understanding that for the first time we were talking about when we went to the break that the medical information and the studies back up really what Dr. Lee, who you studied with, and others said how many years ago that synthetic hormones were dangerous?
Yes. Oh, well, actually what has happened is, first of all, it takes a lot of money usually to do a study. And of course, the pharmaceutical companies could fund studies that supported their drugs because they had so much money. But there are many studies out now on bioidenticals, and there's a big one that just came out. And I'm so excited to give you the information. It's the first of a 3-year study. It's the first year. Natural progesterone cream, which is available to anybody who just wants to go even to a health food store or to call us and get that. Lowers triglycerides, lowers fasting insulin levels, lowers anxiety, depression, and it also helps bone. And there's one more. I'm losing my memory. Did I not take my cream today? But anyway, triglycerides, and it protects the heart.
Protects the heart.
Protects the heart, and I
yes.
have that study available, and it's wonderful. It's
Now,
very exciting.
a lot of those that have studied hormones know Dr. Lee. Talk a little bit
Yes.
about your time with him. That was, what, 25 years ago?
Yes, Dr. Lee was, I was working on some TV shows and found Dr. Lee, one of his books in a bookstore, and called him to see if he would come on as a guest. He not only came on as a guest, he virtually adopted me. I was this little, nervous Nelly producer, and he was a grandfatherly, wonderful type, and he taught me, he said, I'll teach you everything you need to know about hormones. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to move in with him. Well, it wasn't that complex. I mean, once you did the overview of hormones, the estrogen progesterone level is everything. It's totally the key. And he taught me how to raise that level and all of the benefits of it, and it's like a little miracle. Only thing is, it's not a miracle because that's how we're supposed to feel. So we shouldn't call it a miracle. It's normal to feel that good.
So, and we talked earlier, you may not have seen the program where Mother shared about being on Premarin for many, many years.
About 10.
And, the long-lasting effects of that being in your system. How long does it take to get that out of her system? I guess you've been off now for about 6 or 7 years.
Oh, yeah, at least.
But how long does it take after being on it that long? It can alter a lot of things in your system.
It comes out quickly. When you wean off after 3 to 4 months, you're fine. You don't have any more synthetic hormone, but the risk that has gone up, the breast cancer risk, the heart attack, the stroke, and the blood clot, if you've been on it for 20 years, in 5 years, that risk all goes down to 0. But during those 5 years, it's lowering. So it's the best thing is that you get off and start the risk to be lower.
So now, why do synthetic hormones affect sometimes women's metabolism?
Well, estrogen and progesterone ratio is responsible for metabolism and your insulin regulation. So if you have too high of estrogen, that affects melatonin, which affects metabolism. It affects your cortisol levels, as Magali, you're dying to talk about that, which affects your metabolism. And so if your estrogen level is too high, your metabolism is just shot. And you'll look down and see that you're gaining the weight to show for it.
So we have surmised from our table talk, and with all you ladies that are watching, especially, and some of you are like, yes, I can relate to what you're talking about, that synthetic hormones are not good. Now we have medical science to back that up and studies that say it's not good. Magali, talk a little bit about the cortisol levels and those amino acids and things that are affected by hormonal imbalance.
Well, the main thing, because you see a lot of infomercial, they have all these products they say that can lower the cortisol level, and they usually don't work. But meanwhile, you can just use the natural progesterone, which is a bioidentical hormone. Not only is it going to help with the lowering the cortisol, but it's going to help balance all the hormones in the body, which is really, really good. And the stress level, sometimes I use it when I have a headache just in my temples right there, and I put a little bit, it just relaxes me, eliminates the stress, the way I react to it, and it just helps me to relax.
No, for me personally, I did not have a hysterectomy like you, Mom, and so I noticed in about my mid-40s some perimenopausal symptoms that I had not had previously, pretty much normal cycle, etc., hormone levels, not really any PMS or anything. But around the mid-40s, I started noticing a lot heavier cycles. I know some of you women are dealing with that as well, and a lot of the blood clotting and and just real heavy cycles, and to the point that I became a little anemic. And would even take iron every day, but really it's not good to bleed that much. And so, and then a lot of women will have cycles that instead of the 28-day cycle, they'd have a 21-day cycle or 14, or they'd have a cycle every 2 weeks. I know you experienced some of that as well. For me, it was natural progesterone that made all the difference and totally balanced out my cycles where I'm not having all of those symptoms. So it is quite amazing what it does, isn't it?
And peri-menopause is not a dangerous time. It's a very difficult time for women because when women get older and go into menopause, men go, oh, she's just in menopause. But when you're young and vital and you're going through all of that crankiness and mood swings and headaches and can't sleep, it's very difficult for the man to understand that.
Right, because he's not having a lot of those kinds of issues.
Their andropause comes so slowly. And I did have a woman call me, and she described all her symptoms, which was the classic estrogen dominance. And she said her husband had left her twice. Now, I was crying on the phone with her when she was describing her symptoms, because I knew how quickly we could help her. But she said her husband had left her twice, but came back both times because he said, I just couldn't leave a woman who was that miserable. And that was, the blessing that man came back, but there's a lot of men that don't.
Right.
And it's preventable.
Yes.
That's the most wonderful part.
It's preventable. And I know, Cindy, we talked about your experience with synthetic hormones. Could you imagine, had you kept using synthetic hormones for years, how it would have affected you? Yours was like about a 6-month run. But, I mean, there are women that have been on synthetic hormones for years.
I cannot imagine to have stayed on it any longer, because when you don't have knowledge of everything that they're causing in your body, your mind goes so many directions of what is wrong with me. Why am I like this? And you then begin to think, you try to evaluate yourself and doctor yourself and try to figure out what's going on. But I got knowledge. Once I had understanding, I will never, ever go back to synthetic hormones, ever.
And now you're using bioidentical hormones.
I'm using bioidentical.
Which is natural hormones.
Yes.
And it's making a difference.
I feel like a different woman. I feel like me again. I feel like I got Cindy back. I sleep all night long, restful sleeps, wake up. I have great days. My mind is clear. I even went through times when it was the fuzziness of going on, but yeah. I'm on bioidentical.
Okay, here's a couple questions for you before we close out this segment. I had a hysterectomy but still have my ovaries. Do I even need natural progesterone?
Yes, we just discussed it, the 3 to 5 years. The theory is that the blood supply between the ovaries and the uterus is very vital, and when the uterus is gone, that the ovaries, and they atrophy. So definitely, I wouldn't wait the 3 years like you had to.
I'm almost 70 years young. Am I too old to use progesterone cream?
My favorite stories are the women who get revitalized by putting in the little extra hormone, because your adrenal, most of us, our adrenal glands are shot. The adrenals, as we're older, are supposed to be carrying the burden for the progesterone. And when you're under stress, or you're just, you've been bombarded with all the xenoestrogen, those little adrenals are not doing the job. Add in the progesterone. I've had them tell me they're on their way to Victoria's Secret to buy lingerie for the first, the first time in 20 years.
All right. Here's someone. If I had breast cancer, can I use progesterone?
Yes. Well, actually, I took this. I always go to the highest authorities, and I took this to the Hoag Memorial Hospital in my hometown in Newport Beach, California, and I asked the head of oncology, who actually does all the breast cancer surgeries, and he said he puts almost every single one of his breast cancer patients on natural progesterone. But check with your doctor, of course.
So that's good. Well, we're covering it all today. After the break, our panel is back, and we are wrapping up the show the only way these ladies can. More table talk when we return. So we have been enjoying this conversation on hormones. We've had a lot of fun, and I hope you have enjoyed it as well. Kind of closing remarks, Barbara, what would you like to say to encourage those women who are suffering with hormone issues? Is there hope?
There's hope. Actually, that's one my little mantra is there's hope for your hormones. And I do want to say that although it's wonderful to get your information from doctors and people, you know, we respect doctors, we revere them, they don't have time to do all of the information and gather the information. They have certain things they have to do for their continuing medical education. Hormones is a very specialized field. Don't be afraid to find someone who's been through it or find someone who's knowledgeable and has information to give you. Don't be afraid to collect information, to call people. There's a whole, in my experience, there is an entire subculture of women in the United States of America that are using bioidentical hormones that will become your new best friend if you want them to, and go by their stories as well.
Now, you know, you mentioned during the break about Suzanne Summers' book, and so would that be a book? I mean, was she pretty right on her information in her book?
Suzanne uses high doses. I really think that she's bridging the gap between the anti-aging, so use really, really high doses and for your, you know, aging internally and so forth. I'm more into a physiological, stay in balance. I love her because she was a lay person who took all of the information and laid it out for us. And so don't be afraid of listening to a lay person. This woman, she talked to so many doctors just as I do all the time, and I've got their information, and you can cherry pick and get what you need to know. But progesterone is key.
It's
men
key.
And women, yes.
And for those who are in menopause, estrogen is important as well. I mean, you know.
You will never stop making estrogen. You'll always make it in your fat cells, and most people have enough of those fat cells to go around. So
It's true. Well, I want to say.
Start with progesterone.
Start with progesterone. I use bioidentical hormones. My mother does, Barbara does, Cindy does, Magali. And so, closing thoughts, Magali, quickly.
Well, for example, you know, I'm a cancer survivor, and I use the progesterone, the natural progesterone, without any problems at all. I've been using it for years. It's wonderful. I feel good. I feel young, have lots of energy, great memory, no problem at all.
So the reason we share this information today is because I realize that there are so many of you out there who are suffering with hormonal imbalance, and you don't understand what's going on with your cycles every month, and those of you that are skipping cycles and you're going to menopause and you wonder what to do, those of you that have had hysterectomies maybe in your 20s or 30s, yes, there is help for you. And the key word, balance. Balancing your hormones. I mean, in simplistic terms, you've got estrogen levels, you've got progesterone levels, and they need to be balanced. So if you're very, very low in progesterone, you're going to have a lot of the symptoms that we're talking about.
Exactly. And a lot of times when you get progesterone in the proper balance, the estrogen will take care of itself.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom.
Glad to be here.
Okay. You're being kind of quiet on this segment.
I was listening.
You're listening.
I was
This is good
listening.
information. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that this has been a blessing to you, an encouragement to you. As always, there's a prayer line number that we have. If you'd like to call, we can give you some more information. God bless you. Thanks for watching today. Bye-bye.
This has been a Daystar television production.